From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Alison Mitchell and welcome to the final Stumped of 2025, and what a year it has been. This week we're going to look back at some of our Stumped highlights. Now, Virat Kohli's Royal Challengers at Bangalore won their maiden IPL title at their 18th attempt, and he called time on his career in Test cricket. We'll have more on that in a sec. But we start with India's women, who changed the course of cricket in their country forever, finally winning their first ever 50-over World Cup and doing it on home soil. Former captain Anjum Chopra led the side on and off for 10 years and was on the losing side in the 2005 World Cup final. She told us just how it felt to be watching history being made at the stadium in Navi Mumbai.
It's a different feeling altogether to be called yourself as champions. You know, I wasn't playing in that, but I've played in a few where we've been always called as congratulations, it was a tough game. We know tough luck and hard luck and all that we've heard from teams, but to go over the line to win a final, it's not just winning a semi-final and getting into a final, it's about winning the final. And, you know, having your arms aloft like that in celebration and saying, yes, we've done it, and celebrating and hugs and congratulatory messages all coming through. It was a very different emotion that all of us experienced. I guess it will just continue that way, because it's not very many times that you walk in the corridor of a hotel and people come and say, hey, we saw you on television last night. Congratulations, Indian women's team has won. And we saw you celebrating. That must have been magical. And it's from not only Indian people, but even from different nationalities. But yes, people who follow cricket in India, you know how their reactions would be like. And they were up. They were up, or rather awake, because obviously the final went on to the next day. So they were watching our coverage till Indian time 2 to 2:30 a.m. because we were live till that time, actually live on talking cricket and celebrating. So it's obviously a very different feeling to address yourself as world champions.
And you were in the commentary box as that winning catch was held. I mean, for you personally then, you must have had a lot of emotions that were ready to spill over. Did you have to sort of contain them a bit on air? Like, how did you manage that moment?
You know, it was very funny because I was with Bish in the commentary box, and so the moment the 8th wicket fell, it was like, okay, we've seen this in the past. We have to go over the line. Then the 9th wicket fell, and I just looked at our statistician and I asked him a question. I said, are you sure we just need one more wicket? He said, yeah, we are 9. South Africa is 9 down. So I said, does that mean that we just need one more wicket? He looked at me.
Can't quite believe it.
You couldn't believe, because there were about 50 plus runs which were required. And I said, okay, so if we get one more, we'll win.
Just triple checking.
Just checking. And he says, yes. I said, okay, we'll make sure that we get that wicket very quickly. And in the middle of the over, we were having this conversation, and it's like very different, you know. And then like, when is that one wicket going to come? It's like few seconds around this conversation and that emotion. And then that ball went up in the air. And I saw Harman, she was at covers, and I saw Harman running backwards. I said, and I'm thinking to myself, I know this ball has enough airtime for Harman to get to the ball, but it can still go away from her. And all these thoughts are just coming. What if she gets to that ball? And I hope she catches it. You don't have that much of time, but you know how the thoughts go around.
Like time stands still.
Yes. And I just see her hands go out, and, you know, she catches the ball over her head. And it's like the way she ran after catching that ball. I mean, I'm just thinking what thought she might have had, but the thought that I had in that commentary box is like jubilation. I wanted to jump, which I did. I wanted to celebrate, which I did. And I after some time, I just didn't know how happy I am, or what more should I do to share that happiness, because it was a moment which, for the first time as an Indian national and Indian women's cricket team member, or a part of that, has actually experienced that emotion. So it was beautiful, and I still remember it so very clearly.
Well, from one Indian legend in Anjum Chopra to another in Virat Kohli. Back in May, Kohli called time on his Test career after 14 magnificent years. He played 123 tests, scoring over 9,000 runs, including 6 double hundreds. But more importantly, there has probably been no bigger supporter of the 5-day game than him. Kohli made his Test debut against the West Indies in Kingston in 2011 at the age of just 22. Former India opener turned IPL commentator Abhinav Mukund also made his debut that day, and he told us about his memories of playing alongside a young Virat Kohli.
Their first test match for the country, it's a special moment for me, but an even special moment for him. We hold our test numbers very, very dear to our chest. But I remember being extremely nervous and sharing that nervousness with Virat at that point, who'd already played white ball cricket for India. We all understood the importance of the test match game. We'd just come fresh off winning an ODI World Cup, and there was a lot of expectations. But then we all knew what Virat wanted. And there are a lot of us who were very kicked about representing our country. We had very different journeys as cricketers, but Virat wanted to be the best there ever was. He wanted to be the best batter in the team. He wanted to be the best version of himself. And the drive, hunger, and passion was seen even earlier. He had been in numerous under 15, under 17, under 19 camps together. And he always wanted to be the best player. He wanted to be the best in anything that he touched. And I think it proved till the end, where he just kept trying to be the best version of himself. That's something that I remember him more than his milestones and the numbers that speak for himself.
Given that what you observed from him early on, could you almost imagine that, he was, this guy is going to have a successful career? Did he have that sort of extra application that, already just seemed to make him stand out?
Yeah, he was fast-tracked into every single tournament possible. There's this famous story of Mr. Charu Sharma picking him for the IPL, and they were part of the RCB. They were the only guys who were drafted initially. So he came in with a reputation even when he was an 18-year-old, was fast-tracked into the A squads as soon as won the World Cup. Played for India a year later, 2 years later, he was handed his test debut. So everything was seamless for Virat Kohli because everywhere he played, he wanted to perform and he kept scoring runs at every single level. Nobody questioned his talent ever. But growing on from a test batter to a test match captain, and in this era of franchise cricket and global franchise cricket where the landscape is tilting towards players becoming freelancers, and with the idea of having a year-round franchise cricket tournament everywhere in England, in Australia, in India, to just show his passion for test match cricket in this era, I feel is his greatest achievement because you needed someone as big to fly the flag of test match cricket. It is a hard sport, don't get me wrong. It's a 5-day marathon with 10 test matches. You have to prepare differently for test match cricket. And I think a flag bearer of that sort, who was extremely good in all formats, to say, I want to prioritize test cricket and ensure that India do the same in the years that he was captain, will definitely, it'll definitely be my opinion that he took that as his priority and he was the flag bearer for it.
Every cricketer, you included, of course, does want to be the best version of himself and has this burning desire to do very well for his country and for all the rest of the formats that one plays. What really stood out about Virat Kohli technically? Was there something that, enabled him to become this big star, which was special in terms of technique, or was it just, what was it that made him Virat Kohli?
Look, he was blessed with incredible talent at a very young age. But as you know, Charu, there are about 10,000 kids like that in our country who are blessed with incredible talent here. What made Virat special was that he did not leave an inch to anything else. He ensured. You met him as a chubby kid when he was in the IPL at 2008. He then transformed his physical side of things, ensured that he didn't leave any stone unturned for the physical aspect of things. Mentally, he always felt that he was the best. It almost was that the intensity that he brought onto a cricket field. You ask any single cricket viewer, I know every single legend of ours in the past, be it our Sachins or Rahuls, had their own way of expressing. But the intensity that he brought on to the cricket field, like that game in England where the famous interview or the famous huddle where he said, let's give them 60 overs of hell. I don't think any cricket captain has said that in the past. I might be wrong with my history here, but that's a moment that really stood out for me because went out with such intensity. I said this on air a couple of times. I said we've used to seeing the 5 day form of the game being played in a certain way, and a lot has been said about baseball. But the intensity that the captain Virat Kohli brought onto a cricket field, it was unimaginably hard for you to keep up because he would be intense every ball, and that would literally squeeze the life out of you when you were playing on the field. But that's the standards that he expected, and that's why I think he was always way better than all of the other talented kids that there were. He wanted to be the best because he pushed his mental and physical boundaries to the limit.
Well, that was Abhinav Mukund. Now, Virat Kohli went on to end both his and Royal Challengers Bangalore's 18-year wait for the Indian Premier League title. But there was another player who caught everyone's attention during the tournament, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, who, at just 14 years of age, became the youngest player ever to feature in the IPL. He hit the fastest century by an Indian player in IPL history. And following that, Charu told us a little bit more about his personal background.
Phenomenal talent, fearless completely. And of course, coming from a part of India which is not really known for producing lots of cricketers in the past, and quite a bit of a rural upbringing really, and the usual stories surrounding success these days of those who come in from other parts of India, where there's been a lot of parental sacrifice, and with the mother waking up at 2-3 a.m. to make some food for him so that he could, of course, maintain some kind of diet on his way to practice, and his father giving up his job and getting a little piece of land where he could practice a bit. And these are, heart-wrenching stories about how he's come up. And at that age, I mean, you'd struggle to find his village on a map. It's that small. And for him to have moved up from there into a bigger town and then on to Patna, which is the capital of Bihar, it's just, mind-boggling. And the way he takes on, say, somebody like Jofra Archer in the nets, fearless. And,
I've heard this, yes.
Completely out of context. But I remember the 2003 World Cup, and there was this young Australian, I think, Spriggy, who was playing for Canada those days, Jim Davison, who leapt out of the crease and smashed the West Indian fast bowlers bowling at whatever, 140 and change, to all parts of the park, I mean, and smiling and enjoying it. Anyway, back to Vaibhav, at only 14, the whole world's, before him. And the fact that he still has a very level head on his shoulders, a credit to his upbringing. He's still very humble and very respectful. No trace of the arrogance that you see sometimes in younger cricketers coming from major cities. So there's a lot of good around him. And I do hope he's looked after well in terms of the obvious riches that are to follow.
Now, back in June, we were at Lord's to witness South Africa's men end their long wait for a major global title as they beat Australia to become the World Test Champions. Proteas legend AB de Villiers was also there to see it, and he shared with us his emotions on seeing the current team get over the line.
Pretty much speechless, right? So many special moments to touch on. Just firstly, to be in the crowd at Lord's for the first time. I've always enjoyed playing at Lord's, but I promise you it's 10 times more special when you sit in the crowd and you just enjoy the beauty of Test cricket at the best venue you can find. So much tradition and history at that place, and just walking around the change rooms and soaking the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. I had my two boys there, which made it even more special. They are only 7 and 9 years old now, but they understand the game, and it's definitely a memory they'll never ever forget. And obviously, winning that Test match, the Proteas that is, with some of the incredible performances that came to the front, was just a very, very special outing for us as a family, well, half a family, because I was just there with the boys. The girls will join next time.
What do you hope it will do for South African cricket and South Africa Test cricket in particular?
I think just the interest of Test cricket in general. There's so many rumours and murmurs out there that the Test format is boring. The ordinary fan finds it to be sort of slow and boring, but that's certainly not been the case over the last few years. I mean, we've seen some exceptional test match cricket A lot more results than what we've seen in the past. A lot more aggressive attacking cricket as well. Just that the Test format will stay in a healthy state, and the healthy state that it is in now. I think it's time for people to sort of move on from Test cricket is boring and what's happening with this format. I think people must have realised by now that it is the ultimate format. Every single player says that. And from a South African point of view, just for youngsters to dream to be in that Test side one day. That's basically the long and the short. Just for South Africans to get behind the team, to forget but also remember the past. I mean, we've had some very disappointing and sad ends to a lot of campaigns, especially the World Cups. But now time to start believing that we can do this more often. There's more than enough talent in this country to keep throwing those kind of performances on the biggest stage and when it matters most.
For that inspirational piece, it's so often said you can't be what you can't see. And actually, this Test team now won't be seen on South African soil until I think the next home Test match is October 2026. Is there a danger that this moment could be lost? It might not be capitalised on.
No, it won't be lost. It was too big and too special for all South Africans to. It was a Test match no one will ever forget. But yes, to a certain extent, something needs to be done. I saw the schedule that came out for the next cycle of the WTC, and there is an improvement, but I still feel there's work that needs to be done there to get it as consistent as possible and as fair as possible for all Test playing nations. To get enough cricket, and not only enough cricket, but also to play against the big teams often enough. You wanna get to that final feeling like you've played against all Test nations. And I mean, maybe even a 4-year cycle would be nice. We've done that in the past with ODIs. Why not in Test cricket? I mean, it would make sense, and it would give the organisers just so much more time to get a really fair, well-balanced system out there. So it's a long time until our next Test match, but there's no doubt it won't be forgotten. I've absolutely no doubt the Proteas have sort of stirred the emotions of the South African cricketing fans, and they will patiently wait for that next encounter.
And how was it viewed through your 7-year-old and your 9-year-old? Because so much is framed around, the youngsters only care about T20 cricket. How did you experience it through their eyes?
I took a lot of footage. I went through it last night, and I've got a lot of photos and videos, and I almost got emotional just watching their reactions, when they walked in through the gates of Lords. And I mean, that's where you start dreaming, right? I was 11 years old when I watched my first B game live at Centurion Park. It was Sean Pollock's first Test match against England, yes. John T. Rhodes was playing I bought a green cap with John T. on it that day. And I mean, I still remember that like yesterday. I watched John T. eat balls in the nets. So there's no doubt an outing like that has a huge impact on a youngster's life. Whether they go on to play cricket or sport or not, it doesn't matter. It's just that it's something that sort of just lights up where they go like, we can go for this. We can go for our dreams, and we can, we don't have to be scared. Look at these guys. Look at the outing. I think they just are incredibly inspired. And that's exactly what I wanted out of it.
Finally, on Stumped, we know that the life of an international cricketer is filled with lots of time on the road, playing in all 4 corners of the world. So what does life look like for their partners? Well, in July, we were joined on Stumped by Cheteshwar Pujara, who has since announced his retirement from all forms of Indian cricket, and his wife, Pooja Pabari, to tell us how they navigate their relationship in the public eye. Now, through meticulous note-taking and personal memoirs, Pooja had hoped that one day they might turn their story into a book. And she went on to do it. The book is called The Diary of a Cricketer's Wife, a Very Unusual Memoir. And we spoke to both Pooja and Cheteshwar on Stumped, with Pooja telling us how they first met.
I didn't know who he was. We were from the same town, but I was 24 years old, very focused on my career, had just finished like a master's degree. And I was just very focused on my work. I was not looking for marriage at that point in time. Didn't know anything about the game. And then just to get my parents off my back, I was like, fine, I'll just meet this person. And it all started from there. And he, in fact, was very happy that I'm not aware about cricket. And for him, it was a very nice thing, because he said, I want to get to know the person. apart from what my profession is. So it kind of worked out very well.
Yeah, that's right. Then, Cheteshwar, you're quite relieved that she wasn't there because you were a cricketer.
I mean, I was really happy that she didn't know anything about cricket. And I wanted to marry a person, not because of my profession, but the person who I am. And that's how it started. Because if she knew about cricket and if she knew me as a cricketer, then things might have been different. But we started knowing each other from the word go, because it wasn't because of cricket, it was because we liked each other as a person.
Pooja, where were you living if you didn't know an Indian cricketer? But wait, congratulations on the book. And in your author's note, you do write that he doesn't know how to relax, but he's always at peace. Which sounds, something that I want you to talk a little more about. And did that attitude, you think, help Chitesh, or you can talk about that later, with your cricket?
Firstly, a lot of people in India don't know about cricket. It is a possibility. Anyway, coming to that thing, he does not know how to relax. Since I met him, when he was 24 years old when we met, and he had not taken a single break. He didn't know, what was what unwinding was back then, and even now it's very difficult for him to unwind, and it just feels like he's cheating on cricket if he's unwinding. But that is the person, but he is always calm in the sense that he does not have any regrets about who he is, and and what his priorities are. And for me, a lot of the things that Chiteshwar imbibes as a person were very intriguing in the sense that just to be so devoted to a sport or a profession, you have to let go of so many other things, and they do it with all their heart, and there's no two ways about it. Like, there's no regrets. And as a family, that's what they do. That was the journey. I just found it very, very interesting.
Thank you for being on the show. It's been very illuminating. And it's Jim Maxwell here in Sydney. Chiteshwar, you come across as a very private person. Did you have any hesitation when Pooja told you she'd been keeping diaries and wanted to write this book?
Well, honestly, before she started writing, I mean, when I gave her the idea that why don't you write a book? And that's when this first conversation started. She told me that if I'm going to write, I'm going to write everything. So you can't have any complaints that this is something which needs to be taken off from the book. So she wanted the freedom, and I gave her the freedom. I told her that I won't interfere in your writing at all. So my first glimpse of the book was when she had almost, I think it was 80% complete. That's when I first read the book. And I never actually interfered with the book. I never told her that these are the part which I don't want to go, because from the word go, I told her that you have the freedom, you can write whatever you want, whether it's my positive part or the negative part, because you need to put out the story as how it is, rather than just describing me as a nice human being, because there are negatives in each and every cricketer, and unless you show that to the world, then people can't know that what has actually happened in the journey.
Is there anything not in the book that you could tell us about?
Lots of things. There are lots of things that are not in the book. The idea was to capture the essence of our time together and his early years from a different perspective, and the essence was not to kind of have any sensationalize any topics or so. It was just to show true glimpse of the character. And even if anyone who's read the book would know that it also shows like a growth curve for both of us, from where we started to where we are, and how you were learning each day or unlearning few things. So that was the key message. And I think whatever was not mentioned, we'd just like to keep it not mentioned.
Well, that is it for the Best of Stumped from 2025. A massive thanks to all of you for watching us throughout the year and sticking with all our shows on the BBC World Service and BBC World Service YouTube. We look forward to speaking to you again in the new year. But for now, we'll say bye-bye.